Howdy y'all, this is an extremely short explanation video today. It's basically, as the title says, which villain did the worst, as in, morally. Well, there's no definite way to say which character morally did the worst, because everyone has their own morals. But I mean by the damage done and how much fault they are for their actions. That's what I mean. That's what I'm going to use to judge who was the worst, most evil villain. I'm doing this today for the director's birthday, because I figured, why not? I've got to release something for his birthday, I figured. So by villains, I'm referring to everyone who has posed a threat to the Freelancer and Phoenix, which involves the director, Ren, and Harvey. Those are the three that I consider entry point villains. Jade was kind of mean, but she's more like an antagonist. There's a difference between an antagonist and a villain. Jade never really did anything wrong towards the Freelancer other than be mean to them. So my answer to this question is the director. I believe the director is the worst villain by far. Allow me to explain. Ren's story is just sad. He had a very sad life because all of his crimes, all the murders he'd done, his hand was forced by his mental illness, by his antisocial personality disorder. So antisocial personality disorder needs two things in order to develop into full-on, messing of someone's head. ASPD pretty much decreases the ability for someone to feel and have empathy. So, normally, most people live and die without a diagnosis because it's extremely rare for ASPD to come in heavy amounts. It's rare for someone to end up on the very heavy end of the spectrum, which Ren does land on. It needs childhood trauma and a bad early adult environment to grow. And so, clearly, Ren, since he canonically has ASPD, this isn't a theory, this is actually confirmed, he went through something horrible as a childhood, and his time in the Boston 4 gave him his bad early adult environment. And I theorize for the childhood trauma that it was because of abusive parents. But the point is, he had zero chance in life. It's not his fault he was born into a home where he would face something traumatic. It's not his fault he was born with ASPD. And yes, he did choose to run away, but if he did have abusive parents, then that would probably be because he had no life there and he needed to get away from them. He literally grew up knowing nothing but trauma and, pain, if my theory about his childhood is true. If Ren was ever arrested for his crimes in the United States legal system, he would be found not guilty by means of insanity because his hand was literally forced. He still did his actions, and they're still horrible, but his hand was forced by his childhood and his mental illness. So by that, I think that makes him the least evil villain. He could hardly control the things he did. Harvey lands in spot number 2, and if you want proof for all of my theories, I have made theory videos on both Ren and Harvey before, so you can go watch those after this if you're interested. But basically, I theorized that Harvey was traumatized. He cons and backstabs because he's been conned and backstabbed before, and that traumatized him. He became scared, he became convinced it was the only way to live. And it has been noted in his file that he was canonically backstabbed before. Even if he wasn't traumatized by it in the canon, he's definitely been backstabbed before, which I still believe is that he made him traumatized. But he's a very scared, paranoid man, but an evil one. He's scared, but he's evil. He hurts people because he believes it's the only way to get done. But that does not excuse his actions. Unlike Ren, he is responsible for everything he's done. It is sad that he got backstabbed. It's not his fault for that, but he started doing it himself, and yes, he is at fault for that. Also, he has not harmed or backstabbed nearly as many people as the director has. And the director's motive is even worse. The director, as far as we know, has no mental illness and has no traumatizing backstory, unlike Ren and Harvey. The only reason he did all of this, the only reason he started a criminal organization, backstabbed multiple people, including his best friend, was because of greed. There was no trauma, there was no mental illness, he's just a greedy man. And he has harmed and killed multiple people, way more than Harvey. And by that's why I think he is the most evil villain out of all of the three. He has affected the most people, and his hand wasn't forced, nor was he scared into doing something. He was just greedy, and he just wanted to do anything to get his way. All of these reasons and motives and the things they've done, though, is also why I quite like the villains a lot. They make them very interesting characters. Not to mention, it's extremely jaw-dropping to see that the director was just greedy. That's it. He really is just that evil at heart. And Harvey being, scared into his actions, just being scared, and so he learned the false lesson of kill or be killed and, started hurting people. I think that's awesome. I think it's amazing too. And Ren is just sad. Like I said before, he never had a chance in life. he was born into his circumstances. He's a victim of circumstance. But don't get me wrong, I'm not excluding... Oh, God. I'm not excusing any of their actions at all. They all did terrible things. The only one who should be slightly excused is Ren, because like I said, it's not his fault. He was born into the environment, and all the odds were against Ren, okay? So he's not entirely at fault, but he still did what he did. I'm sorry for the uncomfortable breathing in this video. I know you can hear it. I was just, once I start reeling, I start reeling. Yeah. Anyways, that's all. Check out my theory time videos on each of them if you're interested. Except the director, I haven't made his yet, but I'm getting to it. Stop yelling at me about the theory times. I'm getting to them, I swear. No, I'm not. I'm procrastinating. Keep yelling at me. Anyways, see y'all.